Life has made us a lot more concerned about the quality of our air, and for good reason. Nobody wants the Rona. But even though these aren't necessary in our homes, is our home air really that safe? Let's find out. What it do? I'm Lumi, and welcome to the Benchtop, the best science show on YouTube, not empirically, of course. Now, just like me, you're looking forward to not having to wear a face mask all the time. A day where you can breathe freely and smell your coworkers' gym shoes unfiltered. But now that there's such a big push to stop requiring masks, it has got me wondering a lot about what else is in our air. So I did a little digging and I stumbled upon something that you encounter every day without even noticing. In fact, if you bought a new car, you might even like them. What I'm talking about is VOCs. VOCs are volatile organic compounds, which are exactly what they sound like. They are organic compounds that are volatile. Well, that really explained it. Yeah, defining a term with a term is a skill set I have. But since that isn't good enough for you, here's a breakdown. VOCs are any compound that has low solubility in water while having a high vapor pressure. Low solubility in water is pretty easy to understand because that just means it doesn't dissolve in water. Everyone's seen the oil and water demonstration, so you get that part. But high vapor pressure is key. Let's say you have a closed container, and in this container you have a liquid. If we zoom in far enough, you will see that the molecules of that liquid are constantly moving. Some are bumping into each other, others are bouncing against the walls. It's basically spring break on Miami Beach. With all this bouncing around, some of these molecules eventually bounce their way out of the liquid into the empty space above. Now, these molecules can either continue moving around in this empty space as a gas or can end up back in the liquid. It turns out that this process of going in and out happens continuously to the point where the number of molecules in this upper space is essentially the same at any given time. The movement of molecules in this space bouncing against each other and the walls creates pressure in our closed bottle. This is known as vapor pressure. It's the force exerted by all these gas molecules up here that came from the liquid below. Now, for a substance to have a high vapor pressure, it means that it transitions from being a liquid to a gas quite easily at room temperature. A low vapor pressure means that it would rather stay a liquid. So here's the million-dollar question. What makes one liquid have a high vapor pressure and the other a low vapor pressure? I'm gonna go with B. You can see the answers, right? Yeah. You sure? Yeah, I'm 1000% sure. Okay. The public school system is kind of scary. The answer to that question is intermolecular forces. Don't worry, big name, simple concept. Intermolecular forces are simply the interactions between molecules. Some molecules would like to stick together and others not so much. Water, for instance, has strong intermolecular forces due to what's called hydrogen bonding. It's what helps water do stuff like this. So what does all of this have to do with VOCs? I'm glad you asked. Remember, VOCs are materials that have low solubility in water and have a high vapor pressure, basically meaning they turn into gases quite easily at room temperature. The reason why that's important is if I open this container, those molecules that used to be part of the liquid phase can now travel through the air since they are part of the gas phase. And how do you smell? By breathing in molecules in the gas phase. In other words, VOCs are chemicals that are known to easily enter the gas phase and travel through the air. Kind of like a fart. Yes, kind of like a fart. Why are you still here? You lost already. Can I at least ask the audience? There is no audience. It's just me and you in here. I'm you. You are surrounded by VOCs every day. Things like paint, air fresheners, gasoline, fresh laundry, and the smell of that wig you bought off of Wish. All of these contain compounds that can slowly leach out of products we use every day. For instance, that new car smell that people love is actually just an additive that leaches out of the foam in your car. But it's important to note that smell isn't always a good indicator of whether VOCs are present or not. That's why things like this exist. This is a VOC meter. I was going to buy one of these, but I can't blow money like Congress. These claim to detect the amount of VOCs in the air and rate the air quality in your home, school, or workspace. But why should you care about the VOCs in the air? Because like all things, VOCs are trying to kill you. Surprise, surprise. I mean, what else isn't trying to kill you? There's murder hornets, there's the vid, there's Raid Shadow Legends. It's pretty ridiculous. VOCs are worse in your home as they can be 2 to 3 times higher indoors versus outdoors. And though all VOCs aren't harmful, the ones that are pose a health risk to you and your pets. But how bad can they really be? Common VOCs include things like benzene, toluene, formaldehyde, methylene chloride, and many others. And all my chemist friends know that these only should be handled in a chemical hood. That's because they can cause respiratory failure, they're toxic to humans and pets, and can even cause cancers like leukemia. In their concentrated forms, these chemicals are outright deadly and not safe to handle without proper training and protective equipment. So why are they sometimes found in many household products? That answer is a little bit complicated. First, you can take off your tinfoil hats if you think companies are trying to harm you on purpose. The simple fact is, it's not good business to harm your customers. But in order to make products like household cleaners, for instance, you have to use strong stuff for strong messes. Actually, let's park at household cleaners for a second. Depending on what you buy, cleaners contain an array of detergents, solvents, disinfectants, and of course, some smell good. In order to make these cleaners work so well, we have to use much stronger stuff than water. I mean, have you tried cleaning a bathtub with just water? It's quite the workout. It's these components that make these easy wipe commercials so appealing. When it comes to things like paint, solvents and other chemicals are what help stabilize the paint and allow it to stay liquid in the can and dry on the wall. Even things like MDF boards, which are used for all types of DIY and hobby projects, are not made from just wood despite their appearance. If you expound on the acronym, medium density fiberboard is essentially sawdust that gets packed with the resin and formed into sheets using urea formaldehyde. Though it's cheap and easy to use, it is highly recommended that you not only wear a mask when cutting or drilling into MDF due to the small dust fibers that can create havoc in your lungs. It's also recommended that you seal MDF to prevent VOCs like formaldehyde from leaching out. See, there's a lot of work that goes into understanding just how much of these VOCs you are exposed to and at what levels they're actually dangerous. Not only are VOCs hard to detect, the amount of any particular VOC that you're exposed to is dependent upon a number of variables. Everything from air currents in a room to how the material is being produced and handled can affect measurements. Additionally, VOC concentration is highest when a product is new, as there's only so much of the stuff to begin with. That's why the factory smell eventually leaves. All of these factors is what makes VOCs hard to measure, but scientists haven't just thrown their hands up about the issue either. There are multiple areas of study that seek to find out how much we are exposed to and what effect they have long term. Areas like industrial hygiene, environmental health and safety, and public health all seek to find the answers to questions about VOCs. However, in the meantime, what can we do to protect ourselves? This is example 6,287 of why reading is fundamental. There is a saying a former supervisor said to me about chemical storage: familiarity breeds contempt. See, as a chemist who works with dangerous chemicals every day, it's easy to forget just how dangerous some of these can actually be. Unfortunately, that can lead to the mishandling of items even though I know better, which can harm me and those around me. The same goes for you in your home. On the back of most bottles and products, there are directions on how to handle them. You should follow them. Even though you've been cleaning that bathtub with the same cleaner all your life, doesn't mean it isn't having a negative effect on you. So here are a few tips. Make sure you work in a well-ventilated area to reduce your exposure to harmful chemicals. Also, make sure you use fans and windows to circulate fresh air and leave spaces when you don't have to be in them. Also, use proper protective gear like gloves, goggles, and a mask when necessary, and don't reach for industrial grade if you don't actually need it, as these are made for industrial professionals who are trained to properly use them. And for goodness sakes, if you order something and it smells a little funky, don't be afraid to clean it or let it air out by a window. These are all easy steps you can take to reduce your risk and exposure. But before you take off and grab your bedtime reading material, make sure you drop a like on this video and share it with someone else who may not know the dangers of VOCs. I'm Lumi, thanks for coming to the Benchtop, and remember, keep thinking.